Greetings and welcome to another episode of Catholicism and Coffee. I am Stephen Gasinski.
I am Beth Kaczynski.
And we are joined by Christopher Emmanuel Chance, often a contributor to the show and to our blog. So, boy howdy, we got a lot going on today. A couple of things. One, we have, I forgot to grab the book.
Hang on.
Okay, we're so organized on this show, ladies and gentlemen. No, different book. The other one that you read recently. So we decided to zhuzh up our Advent and Christmas devotionals and add some new material. It's called Peace for the Seasons. Devotions for Advent and Christmas. We have a lot more stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. So in addition to the regular prayers and the reflections or the theological study that we had in Christmas and Advent, we've also added the sections that we call traditions and celebrations. So it's just going to give you some prompts for things you can do, things you can start to celebrate the seasons of Advent and Christmas. And if you did buy both of our devotionals when they first came out or between that time, guess what? We published the supplemental material separately, so you can get just the ebook version of Traditions and Celebrations.
Yep. So we got that.
Yes. All of that is available on Amazon.
Yep. And we've got some other stuff down the pipeline we'll talk about at a point in the hopefully not too distant future.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
So last time we were here, Christopher and I talked about the movie Van Helsing. And there was a theological point we were a little fuzzy on, and Christopher did not have a chance to find out the answer to the question, but he has been able in the interim to find out the answer. So Christopher, we had a question about whether someone could send themselves or their whole family to purgatory if they're not able to do a certain task in the regular mortal world. I really can't speak. Is that actually theologically sound, or is that suspect as we theorized?
Well, first off, I appreciate the unintentional pun with my last name you made there when you said I didn't have a chance to talk about it.
Oh no. I didn't even plan that.
I got it.
Yeah, that's what made it great. Then secondly, when I spoke with one of the many priests that my home parish is crawling with, he did confirm that our suspicions were correct. You can't do that. And on the nature of the father being the spiritual head of the household, he did point out that if you die and face judgment, that authority goes away and is, for lack of a better term, superseded by God's authority. So the souls in purgatory are completely in God's hands. And while the weird version of Van Helsing's religious quest was noble, it wasn't exactly theologically sound as to the reasons why they decided to have him kill Dracula.
Okay. So
I'll
we're
leave
good.
it at that.
All right.
Yeah, we kind of figured that because we're both, we're learned laymen right now. So, yeah, it's nice to know that our initial suspicions were correct. So let's get to today's topic since we've actually done our housekeeping. Also, if you're watching, like, comment, subscribe. We have the live chat open. If you have anything you want to share or want us to answer, you can pop into the live chat. So today we're going to be talking about Catholic characters in fiction. We have a few. There are several that have been confirmed, or it's pretty flipping obvious. And there's a couple that we have theorized are Catholic through certain demeanors and actions. So let's go through them.
Characters who either are Catholic or could be Catholic.
Yes, exactly. So let's go back and forth. So why don't we start since it's our show?
Okay.
Why don't you start? Ladies
Okay.
First.
Well, thank you, dear. Since we have been doing a Harry Potter rewatch lately, I'm thinking of the different characters in Harry Potter who could be Catholic. Now, Catholicism does not exist in the wizarding world, so don't quote me on saying, oh, this character's Catholic, because we never see them going to Mass or anything like that.
No.
But I think if there were some characters in Harry Potter who could be Catholic, the Weasley family is a shoo-in. And they even have the one who left the faith, aka Percy.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallels to big Catholic families and
Yes.
such like
Yeah,
that.
there's a joke that, oh, they're all Irish Catholics with the red hair and the big family.
Yeah.
But we just see they're very kind-hearted. They take in those who need help, like Harry, and they share what little they have.
And it's not, there's not even a question about it.
No.
He just are like, all right, we got you covered.
Yep. You can stay in our house, eat our food.
Yep. So they practice the corporal works of mercy
That they do.
quite often.
Absolutely.
Not just with Harry, but with Hermione and others.
Yeah, you see in the later books or movies, they have the members of the Order of the Phoenix coming in and out of the burrow.
Oh, yeah. So, Christopher, response?
I find it interesting. I admit when I heard you were going to discuss the Weasleys, I was most curious because I'm admittedly not that familiar with the Harry Potter franchise and characters. Oh, as much as I am with other stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm curious to see what the reasonings are
Okay.
for why we think these characters are Catholic.
Sounds fair. All right. All right, Christopher, why don't you go? I'll go last with my theory.
Well, I guess since I talked about the interesting film adaptation of this character, I can start with the actual character, the Dr. Abraham Van Helsing, not Gabriel Van Helsing, who I guess technically speaking would also be Catholic, since the film wants us to believe he's the Archangel Gabriel. But in any event, the actual Van Helsing. In the novel Dracula, he is depicted as a Catholic polymath and medical doctor from the modern day Netherlands. He's described as being Dutch. He's actually Dr. Seward's mentor and former teacher, who's called to consult on taking care of Lucy Westerna when they can't figure out what's going on with her. And I like this. He immediately figures out it's vampirism after one visit.
Take that, House. He's a better diagnostician than you.
Well, yeah. Well, House is also based on Sherlock Holmes, so
True.
He's more of a detective in that aspect. Not that Van Helsing doesn't do detective work in the novel, but technically a different genre. I digress. Van Helsing is married, and I seem to recall he has at least one son, but I don't remember if the son was alive or not in the novel, which would be an interesting aspect to his character, in that he presumably still keeps the faith if my memory is correct in that his son's dead. He very much believes in the power of the sacraments and the existence of the paranormal. A, because he hunts vampires in his spare time, and B, they use the Eucharist in a unorthodox and borderline sacrilegious manner to defeat Count Dracula. In the novel, while it repulses him, they're actually depicted as putting the Eucharist in the various grave hiding spots in boxes of dirt that Dracula has strewn about to kind of repulse him away from being able to stay in London for any longer, which points out to Dracula being a satanic character if the Eucharist literally repulses him. And on a funny note, I just thought of this. One could make the argument that the book Van Helsing may or may not work for the church as a secret vampire hunter, given that he says he has permission to carry the Eucharist with him. So maybe the goofy Sondheim film is not too far off with their depiction of Van Helsing being a 19th century Batman, James Bond, vampire hunter.
Yeah. Stephen
funny.
Summers, not Sondheim.
Oh, Sondheim. Fellow musical fans can shame me.
All right. Okay, I'll do one.
Yes.
Let's see. What do we got? I have to go. I'll go with I'll go a little outside our current genre. I'm going to go with George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. Theories. One, he's all about following the family business. He's very much traditional. Two, even though he doesn't want to marry at first because he doesn't think that he has anything to offer, but once Mary convinces him of that, he kind of gives up on that and then just shortly marries her after. And they have a rather large family. And he is also a big believer and practicer of the corporal works of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually does a lot of the typical housewarming blessings like bread,
Yes.
wine,
Salt.
and salt. So that's my evidence. And plus, it's New York in the 30s. So it's possible that because New York back in those days had an actual practicing Catholic population, not the faux Catholicism that is there in certain aspects of public life now. So that is what feeds my theory about George Bailey.
Yeah, and another thing is he's very service oriented. He is always giving to others.
Mm-hmm. At the expense of himself.
At
literally.
the expense of himself.
Multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one I have on my list. All right, Beth, why don't we go back to you?
So I'm going to go into another one of my fandoms and talk about Star Wars. Somebody convinced me that the Jedi are not all Catholic monks.
Well, except for Anakin.
He's a fallen away Catholic.
Yeah.
But they've got their temple. They have their code of the Jedi or whatever. They can't get married. They have to be completely devoted to their job, so to say, or vocation maybe in their world. They're Catholic monks. Plus the robes.
Yeah, the robes.
So, which order of Catholic monks, if we were to go with this analogy?
I'm going to think the Benedictines.
The Benedictines?
Yeah. But sure as hell aren't the Jesuits.
Well, I wouldn't discount the Jesuits, since at least in the original film, which is now episode 4, one could make the argument that old man Obi-Wan Kenobi is quoting Ignatian spirituality at Darth Vader during
That's true.
his death scene. So I've heard.
That's true.
From a Catholic priest.
Yeah, it was some previous order before all of these other orders formed, because it was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Indeed.
All the orders came from the Jedi.
It's true.
And no, Dan Brown, don't you dare try to use this in your latest novel.
I thought he was dead.
Oh, did he pass away to his final reward?
I don't know. I hope no one comes up with this idea, because they'll no, let us write it and it'll actually be good and theologically sound and actually better than current Star Wars.
Don't tempt me.
Okay. All right. Chris, you take over for a moment.
This is now the third time I've accidentally broken Steven on an episode I appeared in. I don't want this to become a habit. Right, I'm straying away from two particular characters of a picture genre, since I don't know if Steven wants to start with that. So instead, I'm going to go with a novel that was adapted into a really long film that I have not seen. But, everybody knows Gone with the Wind. And this is actually courtesy of my mother, since I was having a hard time thinking of Catholic characters that weren't already in the list mentioned. And the story is pretty much about Scarlett O'Hara maturing from a boy crazy 15-year-old into a practicing Catholic woman set during the backdrop of the Civil War. And there's one scene in particular where her mother, who she views as a living saint, is leading the family in rosary. In the rosary, but the drama comes from the fact when the mother can tell Scarlett isn't focusing on the prayers, because Scarlett is too busy thinking about why the man that she likes is being stupid and not seeing what a wonderful prospect she would be. There's very clear teenage immaturity that I won't go into detail on that part. And there's also a subtle pro-life message where Scarlett's mother ends up comforting a slave woman, since they're in the South and they own slaves. There's that conflict as well. That the slave woman ended up getting a child out of wedlock. To put it lightly, the child tragically died. The mother does her best to comfort the slave woman, but then Scarlett overhears an interesting conversation where the mother tells the father that they need to fire the foreman. As far as I know, it doesn't confirm that the foreman might have been responsible, but Scarlett definitely wonders about that possibility.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not qualified to talk more on Gone with the Wind, but there's lots of other stuff. I mean, this was adapted into the film was 3 hours?
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, something. And it also doesn't help that I keep thinking of the parody on the Carol Burnett show when they decided to make fun of the film.
Yeah, nothing was sacred to Carol Burnett. And that's what made her the best.
Yeah. And she was also from Texas, so.
Indeed. So, let's see. Oh, I guess it's my turn.
Yes, it is.
Let's see here. What? I'm going to go back to Harry Potter. Theory that James Potter, Harry's father, was Catholic as well, because he also practiced the works of mercy. He protected his closest friends, including Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, especially because he was ostracized because he was a vampire,
a werewolf.
A werewolf.
Oh, we just watched Prisoner of Azkaban.
I know, that was 2 movies ago. He's a werewolf, so they were very much ostracized in their society. So that's kind of my theory, and also he was friendly to other members.
Yes.
And while he wasn't perfect,
No.
he could be a bit cruel to people he really didn't like.
Yeah, and at the end of his life, what did he do? He sacrificed so his wife and child could possibly live.
Yep. So there you have it. There you are.
Yes.
And there's one testament to his character from others who said, yeah, he, when they find out who the real traitor of the group was, that James wouldn't have wanted that person murdered
Nope.
by any of his kin or his friends. And it's been pretty much confirmed that he wouldn't want to do that. He would make them suffer a fate worse than death, but he didn't want to have his friends have that kind of sin on their conscience. So that's a theory you and I discussed quite thoroughly. So.
Yeah, and to add to your theory, I think Sirius Black is also Catholic, but he's a convert from a Catholic-hating family, obviously, because his parents disowned him. But there's a line that Sirius Black says, it's very prevalent in the film, I would have died rather than betray my friends. And no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend.
Yeah. In fact, in the book, he was originally supposed to keep a secret, but he didn't think.
Yes, he was supposed to be the Potter's secret keeper, but he knew he would be too easy of a target. Everyone would assume he was the secret keeper. So at the last minute, he suggested, change the secret keeper, but we're not going to tell anybody, which is why everyone assumed, Sirius Black is the reason Voldemort killed James and Lily Potter.
And he wasn't.
He was not. And then, in fact, he goes to save Harry later on. And again, he sacrifices himself to save Harry.
Yeah. And he actually, before that, he's like, I want you to be raised with me as my son. It's a heartbreaking scene. We just watched the movie last night, and I was like, Anyway. So, all right, Christopher, you're up next.
The baton has been passed.
Yep.
All right.
I don't have a baton in my hand, or else I'd do it.
Right. My next choice, and I guess it shouldn't surprise people, I would pick this character, Jean Valjean from Les Miserables.
Okay.
Because, yes, that is very much a Catholic story. Victor Hugo himself stated that this was a story about a man becoming Catholic over the course of his life. Because I remember when the 2012 film adaptation of the musical adaptation of the novel came out, and there were weird objections that the film, while not perfect, this is too Catholic, you're making it too Catholic. And I'm like, and people were responding, are you familiar with the source material at all?
You would have been like, it's not Catholic enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I know there's a scene from the novel that I don't know is in the stage musical, but when Jean Valjean is having his dilemma about whether he should admit who he is to Javert, he hears the bishop's voice speak from the candlesticks that, you might as well just burn this and throw it away if you're not going to do the right thing, or something to that effect.
Huh.
Yeah. But anyway, Jean Valjean, living in 19th century France in the period of revolutions, starts out as a convicted thief, placed on parole. His meeting with the bishop is very much his conversion point, since the bishop quite literally saves his life by acting like, oh no, it wasn't a theft. I handed these to you, when it was a theft. But, like all of us, his conversion doesn't start out perfectly. As mentioned, there's the man that Valjean was confused for, and, Valjean's like, well, why should I tell the truth and say who I am to this guy? Only to realize he would be damned if he didn't. And then there's also how he handles Fantine, which I won't go into too much detail about, but suffice it to say he's responsible for where she ends up in the streets before he realizes what he did and agrees to raise her daughter. So, no, leave it at that for now. Maybe if people ask, what am I talking about? I'll ask if I have permission to explain. His other saintly actions, aside from fostering a child that's not his, is rescuing Marius from the barricade, his adopted daughter's future husband, as well as, most importantly, not taking his revenge on Javert when he had opportunity after opportunity to kill his former prison guard. That's hunting him throughout the novel because Javert's Calvinistic outlook doesn't make him think people can change. And in that end, Javert kind of serves as a tragic antithesis to Valjean because, and the musical even does this where the music to the songs is very similar. So you're supposed to think of it where Valjean, okay, I'm going to accept God's grace and allow it to change me. Javert, he chooses to reject God's grace because this Catholic world that he's just now been introduced to, he can't reconcile it with his previous view of reality, so he decides to commit suicide by throwing himself down the river. Yeah, and then Valjean dies and goes to heaven after Cosette's married. And in the novel is welcomed into heaven by the disembodied spirit of the bishop, which is something the 2012 film added at the end.
Cool.
Where they had Colm Wilkinson, the original Valjean, play the bishop, which was kind of cool. It's like, hi, I'm Colm Wilkinson. I'm in my 70s, and I'm still better than you'll ever be at singing.
Well,
yeah, he was that type of talent.
Yeah.
Shared my latest fictional character for now, so I guess it's back to you, Stephen.
All right. Okay, we already did. Let's see. All right, here we go. I'm going to go nerd out now.
What we've all been waiting for.
This actually made headlines not too long ago, so no one should be surprised. Batman's Catholic.
What headlines are you talking about?
So, there's been this argument about whether there's a lot of confusion about Batman lately because modern writers are incredibly dumb. But one of the writers for Batman was Frank Miller, who I think it was Frank Miller who confirmed this. Chris, you can correct me.
Frank Miller definitely thought he was Catholic when he wrote Batman back when he was still good at writing Batman.
Yes. And so he actually said that people were asking, oh, what about Batman? And Batman is Catholic, and according to Frank Miller. And there's actually an Elseworld story that came out some time ago where Bruce Wayne, instead of becoming Batman, became a priest. And then some events happen and he becomes Batman in that world. But yeah, there's ample evidence. And heck, one of the writers who wrote two of the most influential Batman stories that we see a lot of in the modern films.
They're the only comics Hollywood's allowed to adapt, apparently.
I know. What's up with that? Batman Year One and The Dark Knight Returns. So we get to... So he has a little bit of authority. I mean, he's kind of squandered some of it because he's written some really awful Batman comics as well. Didn't he write that All-Star one where Batman did some very, very questionable things?
Yeah, where he decided to turn Batman into a cussing, abusive foster parent. With
Well,
how
there's
he just,
that
yeah,
and a few other things like
yeah.
burning a bunch of people alive.
While laughing, I think I actually remember that panel.
And a few other
Yeah,
despicable things, but we won't go into that.
yeah.
Um, yeah. That was my reaction. I'm like, the heck? That wasn't the word I used. Um, so there's that. Oh, excuse me. Excuse the interruption. We have a fluffy creature.
Yeah, she
Her
wants to make her
Excellency is
Catholicism and
making
coffee debut
herself known.
tonight.
What was that, Christopher?
Her Excellency is making herself known.
Yes, Lady Bianca is making herself known. So we're
good.
so there's my theory, but yeah. So there's a couple of pieces of evidence to solidify that theory. Although there are some who think he's, I think it was Episcopalian or Methodist because of him being New England old money, which also is a decent theory.
Yeah, Batman is canonically Christian, at least before 2011, and the two theories is that he's either Catholic or High Church Episcopalian, and then there's further debate on whether he's lapsed from practicing.
Yeah,
That's
because
another topic.
there are some. Yeah, he does some questionable things. Anyway, so that's mine. So Beth, you're up.
All right. Should I go into all the Disney characters now?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, since we were talking about Victor Hugo not too long ago, I'm going to talk about the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Obviously, there's characters who are going to be Catholic. Because you got the archdeacon or the archbishop, and then Quasimodo lives inside Notre Dame. I'm going to talk about someone who may go under the radar. I think Captain Phoebus is Catholic. And just based on the Disney film, I can't say about the original novel because I haven't read it, but he is going to do the right thing. Of course, at first he's doing his job. He's going to hunt the gypsies, but he's like, oh, I really shouldn't cause people harm. I'm not going to do this anymore. Instead, I'm going to try to save them. And of course, he also respects Notre Dame as the sanctuary, and he's not going to go in there to hunt people.
All right. Christopher, you were about to respond, so fire away. Oh.
I sent it as a private chat.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, Christopher, you're up.
Oh, let's see. I guess I can mention that later if there are more questions about Batman. The next character I'll pick, if Stephen will allow me to do so before him, is Daredevil.
Oh, boy. No, that's fine. I've got another character from Marvel Comics I want to talk about.
Well, oh, sorry, your cat attacked you. But for those watching, the only two comic book characters I was initially aware of from Steven's message was Batman and Daredevil. So I too will be surprised if I could speak English correctly when Steven reveals his other comic book character. So back to Daredevil. Matt Murdock is a superbly practicing Catholic, or at least he attempts to be, even though I will admit this about his character, he does frequently break the sixth commandment. Even during Frank Miller's run, since it was during Frank Miller's run where Daredevil was depicted as cohabitating with Black Widow, which was a big thing in the 70s. So, yeah. He's a practicing Catholic, but he's by no means a perfect Catholic. At least in that regard, since, Matt is a womanizer. That's just his character. But But anyways, on to more positive stuff about his Catholic. I can't speak. On to more positive stuff about Daredevil's religious practice. Like Batman, Daredevil does go out of his way to avoid intentionally killing his opponents when he can take them down non-lethally. I think whatever Stephen was suffering from earlier is affecting me on my inability to speak. But, that doesn't mean that Daredevil won't beat somebody into a pulp, especially if you anger him a lot. And interestingly, this is more on the comic book side. As a defense attorney, Daredevil will go out of his way to accept both criminals and law-abiding citizens as his clients, since he tries to uphold the ideals of justice, law, and order. And I know for, at least originally in the comics, I think it was the fact that Matt was willing to accept supervillains as clients caused tensions between him and the comic book version of Foggy Nelson, who, kind of like the Netflix adaptation, was, no, let's go into more corporate stuff for our legal cases. And at least that's what I had on Daredevil when I was trying to think of quick notes, as I'm trying not to get distracted by the kitten kung fu occurring on the other camera.
Yeah.
That's really all I have on Daredevil right now.
Okay. Cool.
It's your turn.
It is my turn. Okay. Also had a Netflix show, The Punisher. Because one of the original comics, he was actually studying to be a priest before he met Maria. She's a chalice shipper.
I see you and I might have seen the same podcast episode.
We did. I fact checked it. It's true. And also in the Netflix series, they actually have a moment where he actually says, "Yeah, I'm Catholic," with Daredevil after Daredevil rescues him from what could have been a very nasty fate.
Yes.
Is he the best practicing? No, considering he uses lethal force. But he's trying to protect the innocent. And he seems to believe in a higher power, and he is under the mistaken I think he's under the mistaken impression he is the hand of God at times. Considering his zeal, shall we say, for as he says, taking out the trash. So yeah, that's my Frank Castle, the Punisher. But he's very disciplined, partly due to his training as a United States Marine. So,
and in the comics, I think he was also in law enforcement as well.
Yeah, he was. He was FBI
both for his character.
Yeah, and also in the 2004 film, if you haven't seen it, if you're over the age of, I'd say 25, watch it. There's one point where he actually quotes, huh?
Sorry, making too much noise. That's a fun film.
Oh, it's beautiful. I have it on Blu-ray in my collection. There's one point where he actually is quoting Latin. He goes, "The drill sergeant may as recite it like a prayer." And he tries to say that what he's doing is not vengeance but punishment, and it's a beautiful scene. Yeah, it's a little loose, but it works. Anyway, so that's my next entry. I have one more comic book character, but we'll go into that when I get my turn again. All right, Beth, you're up.
All right, I'm going to take some time to talk about one of the newer Disney films, but one that does not suck, so don't worry.
No, we're not going to talk about the ones that suck.
No. But
just right after that, then all of them started sucking.
Yeah, we'll talk about the family Madrigal from Encanto. So, most obvious reason they're Catholic, there's a priest in their Encanto.
Yep.
Yeah. But also, there's just this whole point of they use their gifts to help others, to help the village or the Encanto or whoever. And even Maribel, who does not have a special gift like the rest of them, she's still trying to use what little she has to help others. She's helping decorate the house for her cousin's party.
Yep. And actually encourages them to follow their vocations and who they're supposed to be.
Yes.
Because her cousin's being set up with the local bachelor, and she's just like,
And that's her sister.
It's her sister. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And she's like, I am not into this guy. Stop it. Leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Well, the reason it didn't suck is because Disney didn't believe in it, and then all of a sudden, oh wait, it's actually a hit. We're gonna promote the heck out of this. Yeah, too little, too late, Disney. Shows what thundering morons you have up there.
Yeah, and then at the end, there's the whole we have no gifts, but we are many. It's like, yeah, we can't do anything special, but we're going to help you out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And as Catholics, we might feel like, oh, I'm nobody special. There's nothing I can do. No, there's something you can do. Just figure it out and go help people.
Yep. And there's a big communal aspect.
Yes, very big communal aspect.
So there you go.
Yep.
All right. Christopher, any responses? And if not, you're up.
I'm not going to make a lot of responses to the Disney entries because that would be outside my space, depending on which film we're talking about. Yeah, the only one I have here, at least on my note, that I didn't discuss yet is a certain Belgian detective, Hercule Poirot, from the Agatha Christie novels. Hercule Poirot is a Catholic police officer turned private detective from Belgium, living in, I want to say, if I'm remembering it correctly, post-World War I England. So in that classic early 20th century sleuth detective age of fiction. He doesn't let his strong Catholic morality conflict with his detective work and sleuthing. And I know there was one TV adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express. I'm forgetting the actor who played him, but he's perhaps the most famous actor to play the role, and I'm ashamed I forgot the actor's name. But they decided to add a scene where I'm not going to give away the ending for Murder of Orient Express. But suffice it to say, he ends up in an argument with the bad guys over what certain types of actions are justifiable or not. And as it canonically ends, the way it does, there's this scene shot where you see him visibly gripping his rosary with emotion as he's walking away because he's struggling with the decision he decided to make at the end of the story, which was nice that, oh, they're taking this seriously. Because yes, Disney, simply showing Matt pass by a church doesn't really do anything with the fact that his character is supposed to be Catholic. I may or may not be poking fun at a certain sequel series that people either really hate or really like from the reviews I've seen.
I haven't seen it. I'm struggling with whether I should. So I can't say.
Yeah. And like Batman and Van Helsing, I would say Poirot is depicted as employing what philosophers call phenomenological conservatism in his various investigations and adventures, which is pretty much, to summarize, it's be willing to take the natural explanation first until you find evidence otherwise that the natural explanation won't fit.
Yeah.
Which, oddly enough, is what the church does when the church investigates miracles and other such claims. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We watched a couple of the Kenneth Branagh versions
Mhm.
of the Perot films, and there isn't evidence of Catholicism in there, but certain attitudes in his portrayal.
Yeah, I liked his adaptation of Murder on the Orient Express, and then the third one he did in the names escape. Murder in Venice, I think is what it called. I also liked that one as well, since one of the lines that he says when it's like when he decides, oh, murder occurred in this room, I'm going to be locking all the doors because the murderer's in here, and one of the people casually asks him, well, how can you possibly be sure that one of us killed so and so? We all knew her. And Poirot retorts, people who are murdered are always murdered by somebody they once called their friends or knew. So I'm like, ooh, that was a good line.
There you go. I haven't seen that one yet. But yeah.
That one
All
was
right.
pretty good.
All right, cool. I'm up.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to do my last comic book character. I am surprised you didn't bring this one into discussion, Christopher. Nightcrawler of the X-Men.
I thought about it, but that seemed too obvious
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, because in some versions, before they messed him up, because again, modern writers are dumb, he was studying to be a brother. Actually, eventually a priest.
Yes, I think in the comic books, doesn't they actually try to make him a Catholic priest?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do at one
Mhm.
point. So he's very practicing Catholic. He doesn't do anything too obscene that I know of, at least until modern writers messed him up, because they had nothing sacred or important to them. I don't feel sorry about bashing modern writers because, well,
I mean, I
they
know like
sodomize us
all
on a regular basis. Us fans on a regular basis. So
it's like I know like all male comic book superheroes, Nightcrawler does suffer from the classic case of why can't he just have a permanent romantic relationship? But other than that, nothing's coming to mind.
yeah, no, because he's not one to kill. He tries to use non-lethal techniques to stop somebody. So we got that going for him. All right. My dear, you're up.
I'm trying to remember if there's any ones that I haven't covered yet that I really wanted to talk about. I think I got most of them. Are there any that you want to talk about?
Well, we could do the Fat Friar from Harry Potter, but
Yeah, that's kind of obvious. He's a ghost anyway.
yeah, he doesn't have much to do.
Yeah, I think he speaks like twice in the book series. I don't think he even speaks in the movies.
He only shows up once in the film,
Oh, okay.
so he's barely in it.
Yeah, but he's a friar. Obviously, he's going to be Catholic, we think.
Yeah.
He probably lived a time before all the Protestants were around anyway.
Yeah, that before the revolt happened.
Yes, the revolt.
Okay. Well, there's one Batman character who's Azrael, who eventually takes on the mantle of Batman for a little bit during the Nightfall saga. He's supposedly attached to the Order of Saint Dumas, but we don't know how Catholic they are. So we'll put a little asterisk by him.
Yeah, I would say the Order of Saint Dumas is more a crime syndicate that brainwashed a Catholic character, i.e., Azrael, to act as their agent before Batman frees him.
Yeah. So there's that. There was a character Christopher and I discussed offline, and actually goes back to one of our previous episodes of the show, Father Brown.
Well, wasn't that kind of obvious?
He is a Catholic priest who solves murders,
Yes.
created by the great, brilliant man, G.K. Chesterton.
Yes.
And played by Mr. Weasley.
In the newer adaptation, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Father Brown, the only stories Chesterton wrote that actually made him money.
Yep.
Yeah, which is interesting to think when, like, okay, Chesterton wrote a lot. He even, like, wrote in several newspapers, some of which he owned at a certain point. I do know Father Brown was based on a real-life priest Chesterton knew, Father John O'Connor, which Chesterton has a funny story in his autobiography, which I don't want to spoil.
Aw.
But I will mention that, and this is kind of interesting for Chesterton, is I'm pretty sure he wasn't Catholic yet when he started writing those stories. Which is why when Chesterton finally became Catholic, a lot of his contemporaries were confused because, like, I thought you already were one. Yeah,
He was in spirit. He just wasn't there yet.
Yes. And Father Brown uses the sacrament of confession to inform his detective skills without breaking the seal of the confessional conclave. I will not get over that.
Nor should you.
Yeah, that's actually one thing we talked about in our review about how Father Brown will hear these confessions but still respects the confessional where he won't go and tell the police, oh yeah, this is true because I heard it in confession.
Yep. No.
Yeah, and in fact, in the novels, he'll often side with the criminals and let them get away because, as a priest, he's more concerned about their souls than he is necessarily about legal justice.
Yep.
Which is why Flambeau kind of becomes his best friend in the books, even though Flambeau was the first antagonist in the first ever Father Brown story, The Blue Cross.
Yep.
Yeah, where he figured out Flambeau was not a real priest because Flambeau dismissed theology as not being important.
That might get him confused with some modern day Jesuits.
Yes.
Did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also like how Father Brown just casually mentioned that, but when Flambeau's like, wait, you know about this criminal thieving techniques? Like, oh yes, I used to work in prison ministry. I know all about it.
There you go. So we have some others here. We wanted to talk. We had another from another book that's rather famous. We theorized that the Cratchit family from A Christmas Carol could be Catholic.
Mostly because they have a ton of kids.
But they're
obviously Christian. God bless us, everyone, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And just how grateful they are for what little they have.
Yeah.
And speaking of Chesterton, if you like Charles Dickens, you need to thank G.K. Chesterton, because G.K. Chesterton reminded people that Dickens existed when he wrote his reviews for Dickens stories. And I think in one of those reviews, and this is interesting because I don't think Dickens himself was Catholic, but he theorized that in A Christmas Carol, our protagonist, Ebenezer Scrooge, actually converts from being a Puritan into a Catholic over the course of the story. Because for a long time in England post-Reformation, Christmas actually used to be illegal. And Scrooge definitely displays Calvinistic tendencies
Oh yeah.
at the beginning of the novel, which I will get annoyed by if adaptions don't say some of the chilling lines, such as when the Ghost of Christmas Present uses his "let him die and decrease the surplus population against him" when he expresses concern for Tiny Tim's fate. Yeah, I will actually get mad at an adaptation of A Christmas Carol if they don't include that moment.
Did they do that
As
in the
well
Muppet
as,
Christmas Carol? I think they did.
I can't remember.
yes, the Muppets did one of the best adaptations ever of A Christmas Carol.
Yes, they did.
The Marley and Marley song is excellent.
Well, Statler and Waldorf are my spirit animals, so it made me happy.
Yes. And you could even think of Jacob Marley as serving time in purgatory.
You might be.
Yeah. It's all the chains and how he's weighted down.
Yeah. Yeah, he's either in purgatory or he's in hell. Either of which is possible.
Yeah. I don't think you could visit Scrooge if he were in hell, though.
Well, probably not, but I do know Aquinas theorized that on rare occasions God might allow a damned spirit to appear to keep the living treading the path of righteousness, which is Marley's role is, hey, I'm going to throw a bunch of Augustinian theology at you because I don't want you to go to where I am.
Could happen.
Yep.
There you go. Let's see. Do we have any others that you really want to talk about?
I think we covered most of them.
Yeah, you're not going to go over these folks.
We talked about them plenty elsewhere.
Okay. So that was our episode. Oh, we have a couple of comments here. Let's go see.
Finally, we have comments.
Hey, I caught you live. Yes, you did. Thank you for identifying yourself, because I wasn't sure who you were, Robert. Mutual friend of ours and friend of the show. Woo! Batman is Catholic, and also, yes, modern writers are dumb. I'm going to say that till my face turns blue. I've been lamenting about this lately because I've just seen some modern stuff, and more people are coming out and trashing modern writers, and it brings my soul so much joy because recently, if I may go on a brief tangent, some Star Trek writers from like the 90s came out and blasted modern Star Trek writers and blasted them pretty hard, and it brought me joy. I was like, I could have told you that. But yeah, so there's the modern writers. It's sad, and they just don't know how to write, and we're losing potential for many great stories because their ideas are not, the initial spark of ideas are not bad. They just can't execute a darn thing because of their really warped morality. They don't know how to tell moral tales because they don't believe in good or evil. Or they actually believe in something that's actually evil and they think it's good, and kind of goes with the old Isaiah prophecy.
There's a whole truth is subjective, which is not the case.
Yeah, moral relativism and transhumanism and all that stuff. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. Owlman.
We have a friend of our show who's the subject matter expert on it.
Yeah. Owlman from a certain Justice League animated film is the poster child for the philosophy of transhumanism.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Well, that was fun. We hope you enjoyed hopping in on these possible characters to tell us about them. So So I think we can wrap up there. We've been out for an
Yes.
hour, so the poor people have probably had enough of our nerding out.
They can leave if they want to.
They stuck around,
Oh,
so
well done.
woo! We didn't scare too many people away. Yay! So as I said, we're going to be making some changes around here. We'll be telling you more about it as time goes on.
We have something new in the works, which we will be sharing more details about in the coming weeks.
Yes. Because we've just realized that we're trying. We've been over the past couple of years. We've been kind of stumbling and figuring out what we wanted to do. Because originally we were going to be, Theo nerds, which we still are. But there are a lot of Theo nerds online, and some of them are a bit more qualified than we are.
Yeah. And we don't want to be like the bad ones who create their own theology.
Yeah. There's a great episode on that.
Yeah, we just watched it the other day, which is why I was thinking about it.
That's great. Yes. Thankfully, it was actually Chris who showed me that video initially. So thank you, sir.
I've shared a lot of stuff with you that you either like or cry to me why because it freaked you out. Which video are you referring to?
The Great Council of Trent, the 4 kinds of bad Christians.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we watched it Saturday.
Yep, and there was another one we watched too, I think.
Yeah, the hang-ups of Catholic fundamentalism.
Well, yeah.
Really good video. Both of them are excellent, but Trent Horn knows his stuff overall well. So it was good for us to kind of delve into that. But as I said, we are not qualified to do a lot of stuff, but we are, all 3 of us are qualified. Couple of us as fans and a few of us as people who've done work in the business and who have tried to make stuff on our own as well. So we're going to lean more into that and wanted to kind of, we'll explain more when we get closer. I didn't want to spoil anything. I almost did. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry. And a few other things that we're working on in the
Yes.
works. And as I said, we'll be going over that as time goes on. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If we've scared you away, doesn't appear that we have. There's more stuff like this. We'll be continuing to do movie reviews. We got a movie review
Next week, I believe.
Next week, we're gonna do a movie review. That'll be interesting. Will Beth and I cross swords on the movie? We'll find out. I actually don't know because I haven't watched the movie yet.
I have.
I know you have.
Yes.
But will we cross swords on it? We'll see.
I'll probably be right.
Maybe. So we've got that. Books. Lots of books.
So if you're doing your Christmas shopping early and you want to buy some Catholic books for somebody, please go check out our Amazon page. You can just search our names. You should find what we've written.
Yep. And that about covers it. It is not. You can join us if you want, Christopher. Christopher asking if we wanted him to join us for the movie review. That is up to you. We can do it on our own, or if you want to join us, you can. We'll be doing a live show. I think we're going to be doing live shows from now on.
Yeah.
Because
it's honestly easier for us.
it's easier for us, and I want my time to edit for other things. And it just much more natural, and you get to see the real side of us and us joking with each other and poking fun, and just the chemistry is a lot more real. So there you go. Christopher, do you have anything you want to share?
Well, this would have been 2 weeks ago. I think I had another blog post. approved and posted on the site.
Yes, you
Where
did.
I discussed the crucifixion, and it was heavily inspired by a shameless popery video on Calvinism.
Yes, yes. It's a very good article. But yeah, you posted that a couple of weeks ago, and we've got a couple more in the ether for you, and we may write a couple of our own. So we'll see. We've got a lot of drafts.
Yes, we do.
We have a lot of drafts. But we want to give you our best work. So there you go. In the meantime, Christopher, anything you want to add before we scoot a boot?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, in the meantime, friends, countrymen, be bold, be brave, be courageous. Enjoy your caffeinated beverages. God bless.
God bless.